How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to another episode of the Banker Next Door. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today, I thought I would do something a little bit fun. So I came across this article about the kind of the death of the bank robbery, and so I asked the question: What? No more bank robbers? Like, what's of course, we all know the long history of people robbing banks in the country. And very famous criminals have done a lot of things. There've been countless movies made about bank heists, robbing banks for all different kinds of reasons. But I wanted to bring in this article here. This was from Investopedia, and this was titled Death of the Bank Heist. Where have all the bank robbers gone? And I thought this article presented a bunch of detailed information on bank robberies from an FBI report, but then it also gives us, you can see here on the left-hand side, a number of 5 theories as to why bank heists have gone down. So theory number one is not big enough payout. Theory number two is fewer targets. Theory number three, easier to get caught. Theory number four, tougher prison sentences. And then theory number five, better alternatives. And then it kind of wraps up with a conclusion here at the end. But let's get into this for a second. So stealing from a bank has long been portrayed as the ultimate score for robbers. While Hollywood still portrays bank heists as the ultimate criminal jackpot, real world data tells a starkly different story. FBI statistics show bank robberies have plummeted by 85% since their 1992 peak. So the number of bank robberies recorded by the FBI has declined by about 85% since its peak in 1992. Robbing banks isn't lucrative anymore. In 2019, the average payout was only $4,200. Alternatives carry less risk and offer higher potential payouts. And then we have a nice chart here. Are bank robberies becoming a thing of the past? So better armored truck technology, higher arrest rates for the crime, and the digitalization of money transfers are among the reasons given for its dramatic decline over time. The annual number of bank robberies recorded by the FBI has declined about 85% since its peak in 1992. So we could see 1992 topped out with 9,540 bank robberies in the United States. And we have dropped all the way down to a small, what does it say, about 1,000, if I can slide. You know what? I'm going to try to see if I make this smaller. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, 1,362 robberies in as of 2023, and it's probably dropped even a little more in the last couple of years. So robberies way down. Now, theory number one, not a big enough payout. Perhaps the biggest reason people don't rob banks anymore is that it doesn't yield much money, and what little they get buys far less than it used to. So in the late 1960s, a bank robber netted about 5,200, 46,000 in 2025 money. And 2019, the average dropped to 4,200. So yes, I will tell people quite candidly that banks do not keep anywhere near as much cash on hand as they used to. Even 20 years ago, 25 years ago, banks used to keep a lot more money in cash in their vaults at bank branches than they do today. A lot of that has to do with with the way that electronic money, the various payment channels, online banking, wires, ACHs, just things moving around from payroll companies and so on and so forth. So, you don't have as much cash changing hands. Now, I could talk about some other issues with that, CTR reports, SAR reports, all kinds of other things, but I'm not going to get into all that here. But I would just say that, yeah, I would assume that the average person trying to rob a bank, you're going to get a lot less money out of it. Now let's go to theory number two, fewer targets. So an Investopedia analysis shows that the decline in average haul isn't because banks hold less cash, a widely held view. No, that is the truth. In fact, with massive industry consolidation from about 24,000 banks and credit unions in 1992 to about 9,125 today, each remaining institution holds more money on average, even adjusted for inflation. No, that's wrong. I don't know where they got that ever. So here's what I would tell you. Their numbers are true. The number of banks has gone down. That is absolutely true. The number of banks and credit unions has dropped from 24,000 to under 10,000 today. That's 100% true. The number of bank branches has also declined from a peak of about 97,000 bank branches, probably down to about 73, 74,000 today. So the number of financial institutions has gone down. The number of overall bank branches has gone down. However, like I said, because of all the other payment channels, because of the way that digital money moves around, banks hold less money today on average than they used to back in 1992. That is absolute fact. I can tell you that 100%, having worked in the industry as long as I have. Working with data from the FDIC and U.S. Federal Reserve while adjusting for inflation, we find that in 1992, the peak of bank robbing, banks held about 8 million each in 2025 dollars. Today, data as of the fourth quarter of 2044 shows that would be closer to about 10 million, or about a 20% increase in real terms. Guys, I'm telling you right now, there's no bank branch out there. I mean, maybe I don't know, maybe in a few that are in, like, maybe if you got bank branches in New York City or Washington, major metropolitan areas, Philly, DC, Boston, maybe some of those bank branches would carry that kind of money in their vaults. That's not, I mean, your average bank branch in, say, Pennsylvania, Kansas, Oklahoma. I mean, yeah, they don't have anywhere near $8 million in. They don't even have $1 million. Okay, let's just put it that way. They don't even have $1 million in the bank branch. Okay, so it's like there's nowhere near that much money. A key data point seems to be not the value of what's held at the bank, but that the number of potential targets has shrunk. Not only has the number of banks shrunk since 1992 by 62%, but the job of bank teller is a dying occupation as ATMs have become more ubiquitous. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data shows that the number of full-time tellers has dropped by half since 2007, from about 340,000 to 173,000, with a further 15% decline expected in the next decade. Yes, this is absolutely true. But you have to ask yourself, well, why are tellers going down? Well, because there's just less cash. There's nowhere near as much cash for bankers to deal with. Companies are using a lot less cash. The main companies still using cash are basically restaurants and retail stores. I mean, outside of that, not really too many other people still rolling around, processing a whole lot of cash these days. Is it true that banks hold less in value? Amount of cash held by American banks in constant 2025 dollars. 80, about $86 billion there in cash. Like, okay. Theory number 3, easier to get caught. So federal data shows a consistent clearance rate of between 55 and 60% over time for bank robberies. That ranks it second behind murder. So you're less likely to be caught for almost any other crime that would net you someone else's funds. The likelihood of catching a bank robber on or near the scene is higher than for other crimes. U.S. Department of Justice analysis points out this is because most bank robberies are reported very quickly. Most occur during daylight hours. Many have multiple witnesses, and some produce photographic images that can be used to canvass the surrounding area for suspects. So, yeah, I would agree with this one 100%. I think the technology has gotten way better. Unfortunately, a lot of people, I will tell you, that rob banks are desperate, foolish people. They are not they're not the professionals that are portrayed in the movies. I can guarantee you that. And not to say that those professionals are not out there. They absolutely are. I'm just saying that most of the people that rob it are, generally, like I said, kind of desperate, downtrodden people that have, maybe robbed a few other places, and now they've kind of graduated into trying to now rob banks because for some reason they think that's a great idea. But no, I think it's so easy to get caught today just because, again, banks really train their employees very well. They do. Banks do a lot of robbery training every year. You have things like, die packs, other things that are in there that are there for theft prevention. So again, you have tracking devices. You have all kinds of different things going on in there. So the technology has gotten a lot better. So again, what you're getting at, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, basically. So you have a high likelihood of getting caught. There's not a lot of money there to steal, and so it's a tough beat for those criminals. Theory number 4, Tougher prison sentences. So not only is it harder to evade jail time, but your sentence will likely be longer. In the U.S., bank robbery is typically a federal offense. According to the U.S. Sentencing Commission, the average sentence for bank robberies in 2021 was 10.25 years, while those convicted under federal statutes of engaging in all forms of robbery had average sentences of 8.75 years. So yeah, so and again, that's if you don't use a weapon. If you use a weapon when you rob a bank, you're probably going to jail for a minimum 25 years, and that's if nobody gets hurt. If somebody gets hurt, you may be in there for a long time, long time. So yeah, the prison sentences are rough, like you go in, like, again, some people, might just go in and try to pass a note per se. Um, again, it's a federal crime. You're going to go to jail for, I would say, anywhere, 7 to 10 years, easy, if you get caught, which again, the probability is you will. And then finally, theory number 5. Today, criminals don't need to sweat it out in a bank lobby, watching the clock tick while a nervous teller fumbles with cash drawers as sirens wail in the distance. They can empty bank accounts remotely. A single successful romance scam can net hundreds of thousands of dollars. Cryptocurrency fraudsters have stolen billions. And crucially, there's no hidden die pack trigger, letting anyone in sight instantly know what you've just done. So the bottom line here is that bank robbery is becoming a relic of a bygone era, taken down not necessarily by better policing, but by market forces that have changed the game. The era of the bank robbery is ending not through some dramatic police crackdown, but through simple economics replaced by crimes that offer everything the old-fashioned heist promised but never delivered. So again, a very interesting article here. We could see a lot of good rationale for why the number of bank robbery. I'll go back to this chart here for a second. So again, a lot of rationale for why the number of bank robberies in the U.S. has declined. Not big enough payout, fewer targets, easier to get caught, tougher prison sentences, and better alternatives. And I would say, yeah, I think criminals out there are having much better luck with things like wire fraud, check fraud, business email compromise, crypto scams, romance scams, pig butchering, all this kind of stuff. Making a lot more money doing those kind of things. Just the good old fashioned hack, skimming, putting skimmers on ATM machines, skimming people's ATM cards. Just good old fashioned hacking the computers, hack the computer. What am I thinking of? Not ransomware, ransomware attack, just going in and basically saying, hey, if you want the key to turn on your computers, you got to wire X amount of dollar to so-and-so and or this place and pay us out and we'll turn your computers back on, that kind of thing. So, but again, very interesting article here. I hope people will find this interesting. I thought this was an interesting one to cover. So the death of the bank heist. So, but anyway, with that being said, I will wrap up this episode by saying if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. That always helps the channel. Remember, we are on YouTube, Rumble, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And as always, make sure to check out some of the other content on the channel. I thank you for listening. I hope everyone has a great day out there, and I will see you again real soon. Thanks a lot.